Welcome to the New Planner Podcast, where it's all about helping you successfully enter the financial planning profession and accelerate your financial planning career. This podcast will help you understand the profession, become familiar with the various career paths available to you, and avoid the mistakes that limit your success. Join your host, Caleb Brown, to explore the human side of creating a successful planning career through interviews, personal experience, and insights from the trenches. Let's get started.
Welcome to the 264th episode of the New Planner Podcast. This is Caleb Brown, your host. My guest today is Sten Morgan, who is the founder of Legacy Investment Planning and the Elite Advisor Network. Sten joins the show today to share his career journey of becoming a firm owner. He talked about why he started as an intern in the insurance channel and stayed in the insurance channel as long as he did. When his mentor retired, he moved and then struggled to find the right fit after working at several different firms. Stay tuned to the middle where he walks us through his decision to start his own firm, how he grew the business, the mistakes he made along the way, and what he wished he had known when getting started. Stay tuned to the end to hear why he started the coaching network and how it helps other advisors streamline success. I hope you enjoyed this episode with Sten Morgan. Hi, Sten. Welcome to the New Planner Podcast.
Dude, good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Looking forward to this. I just want to start, like I always do, pretty much with all my guests, just how you got interested and got started in financial planning.
I got tricked by Northwestern Mutual. I was in college in Oregon where I grew up, and so it was the only company at the time that would pay me, I think, $400 a month to show up to a meeting. So I took the internship. I didn't know what a financial advisor did. I never wanted to sell, never wanted to run a business. Nobody in my family ever did that. And that was it. And so then just the competitive nature in me, when they started saying, hey, you can win a free snowmobiling trip or, go to Milwaukee in January for the top 20 advisors, it just sparked enough in me to be like, yeah, I'll go sell some term insurance to people I know. So yeah, I think when I look back, and I love your audience, because I wish I would have had something like this when I started. I felt like I was wandering around, copying people around me, getting pretty frustrated and saying, well, I guess if I just keep doing this, like eventually maybe I'll be successful. And so a lot of the work we do now with advisors is like, how do you make that path as clear as possible? And part of the clarity, I think, is like how hard this is really going to be. There's an average path, one where you kind of bump around and maybe do okay. There's a different path, though. It's a lot more challenging, but I wish I would have known that path existed sooner so I didn't have to bounce around and learn a lot of things the hard way.
I think we can all relate to that. So you were at Northwestern for just an internship, or did you do anything else after college with them?
Northwestern's training was, great. They threw us in the deep end, a lot of call script stuff. But the managing partner at the time had kind of taken me under his wing. He had never had kids. He was a really cool mentor for about a year for me while I was in the internship. And when I was coming out of school, pretty much ready to be a full-time advisor, he partially retired. And so it kind of forced me to step back and say, okay, like, where do I want to live? What do I want to do? Because I had a lot of loyalty to him. And so I ended up moving to Nashville. And at that point, joined Raymond James' office and kind of went from the insurance heavy side to more of the investment heavy side. And that started my journey of eventually leaving that firm because we just sold A shares to everybody. And every advisor had like 1,000 clients. And I was like, this doesn't feel right. And didn't have a good mentor there. So I ended up just quitting one day and saying, well, I guess I know I'm not supposed to be here, but you're not really helping me understand why. I know I'm young and I don't have all the context, but in the absence of any good leadership, like I'm just going to go figure this thing out on my own. And that started me bouncing between different firms. And so I kind of settled into who I knew I was as an advisor.
So it looks like you had some exposure, whether planned or not, with multiple different channels, right? So the insurance, the investment, and the broker dealer. Was there another one in there?
RIA, kind of hybrid RIA vibe until, being fully independent now. But I look back and, as I coach a lot of advisors, I'm like, trust me, the answer is not always leaving where you are. Like I look back and I was like, I could have thrived in every one of those places. I was probably challenging to lead because I just wanted to do a bunch of stuff and I was a little too, intense, and managing directors and partners would sit me down and say, hey, do this. But to me, whenever they did that, I was like, you're trying to put me in a box. Like you're trying to tell me to sell these 3 things because that's the most profitable for you. In hindsight, a lot of that was just kind of my immaturity and lack of experience of understanding what they're saying. Because now I run a firm with other advisors and I'm like, oh, I find myself saying some of the same stuff as them. We need a scalable process. We can't have one advisor doing a bunch of random things as a firm because that's a one-off where we need most of our advisors doing like consistent activity around the same process because that's risky if they're doing a lot of different stuff. So more context now to look back, but at the time felt like I was kind of on my own, just trying to figure it out.
Well, I mean, what kept you? I mean, after kind of, I mean, and it sounds like you had a good mentor, especially at Northwestern Mutual. But what kept you in the industry? Why didn't you say like, man, I can't find a fit. I'm just going to go do something else?
So very quickly, I think the industry brought out in me the desire not to be told what to do. And as soon as I figured that out, I was like, I can't go work for somebody else. Even in the context of like being part of a firm where I still had all my own, I can make my own schedule. Obviously, I had some level of accountability. The younger version of myself really pushed back on authority. And I was like, I can't work at any company. Like I could never work for a boss and watch them make silly choices, in my opinion. I need to have a little bit more control. Probably took that too far and like I got to blaze my own path. Let's go. Create a lot of headaches for myself. But I think that's something I'm glad I realized early on. It was like, I got to be as much of an entrepreneur as I can. And I do enjoy this business. I love helping people and it's around money, which comes naturally to me, just the math side of it. So even though I wasn't a salesperson and nobody in my family was really entrepreneurial, even that internship in the early part of the business kind of sparked in me like, I don't know what kind of advisor I'm going to be yet because I know I didn't want to be like the insurance only or like the investments at all cost, and eventually kind of found my way to our firm where we do a lot of planning consulting because we believe it's like I'm what's valuable to you. Like my ability to coach, encourage, and challenge you and bring you great ideas is really what you're willing to pay for. And hey, by the way, we manage money really well. And hey, by the way, if you need insurance, we can find it. But I didn't want to be the advisor, and it took me years to figure out what this meant to me, that my value was the insurance policy I'm about to sell you. Or my value is the mutual fund or ETF I have, which in the back of my mind, I realize is the same one almost every other advisor has. I had to find myself in the business and say, no, I'm going to be a talented professional that's creative, and that's why you're going to work with me. And then, oh, by the way, here are all my products. Instead of, hey, the products are really what it's about. I don't really have that much value.
Yeah, you can still give them the solutions they need. Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, so let's go. Maybe you answered this, but do you feel like you've always been an entrepreneur, or was it just in a spark? You had the spark, something just triggered it, or was it kind of more of an accidental entrepreneur?
I think if I would have gone and taken some of the jobs my buddies took, they were making 70, 80 grand out of college. And I was like, dude, you've arrived. You're driving a sweet car.
Yeah.
I'm over here making like 35 grand trying to like sell insurance to my cousin. But I think if I would have gone that other path, made some people pretty frustrated, I would have annoyed a bunch. Like I would have eventually found out like I have to quit my job.
Yeah.
So I think it was there. I think I'm thankful in hindsight that I started down that path as early as I did because it helped me, start the compounding effect sooner on my business. But yeah, there was something there in me that needed that.
Gotcha. And now, I mean, let's just talk about your own. So you bounced around a little bit and then you started your own firm. So tell us about that.
Yeah, I went into for whatever reason along my journey, in my mind, I got stuck on like the RIA thing. Like that was the ultimate destination for all talented advisors, was to not be under anybody else's umbrella, not be told what to do. And I think there was a big wave at a point in my career where like that was the sexy thing to do. When I started going down that path, I was like, man, there's a lot of stuff here that's not advising clients. Like there's so much to keep up with. There's the compliance side of it. There's the payroll side of it. Like it's a lot more complicated than maybe, I was led to believe at different points in my career. And so we went to like a fold up RIA where it's like, hey, we pay, 10 basis points, whatever it is, for somebody to do all of our compliance, all of that stuff. Because I want to be a great advisor. I want to have access to a bunch of products. I want to build my own tech stack, but I maybe don't want to become the full standalone RIA yet, which is what we eventually moved towards. But there's some part of this where it's like, at some point, you just need to serve people and build your book of business and not necessarily focus on your payout yet. When your business grows to a certain point, then I believe as an entrepreneur, you get to step back and say, hey, do I want to move my business? Because it's very disrupting. I've lost hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars over the year by like disrupting my business to make a change, to implement a new CRM. And I think we can create busyness for ourselves that's not just purely help more people, make more revenue, and then be really strategic about when you decide to shake things up, like make a move, because it will disrupt your business quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, and entrepreneurs don't like less is more sometimes, right? I mean, it's just like, you don't need all this. And okay, I'm with you. All right. So and then are you still with that, or now do you have your own independent?
Yeah, we're on.
Was there another stop?
Schwab now, and so we're doing one thing. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So now, so you went from kind of paying somebody because I mean, I get this call all the time. Like, yeah, I wish I could just, meet with my clients and do financial planning, but all this business owner stuff gets in the way. It's like, yeah, welcome to the show here. All right. So well, just talk to us a little bit more about your firm and like who are you targeting? What's your target client and maybe just a little bit how you develop that niche and how you're getting those clients.
So for me, it was probably about 5 or 6 years ago. I really pursued the path of, is it possible that a client will pay me a fee? Like I will give them an invoice and they will write me a check. Because up to this point, I've been paid by fees hidden in investments that clients kind of understand or a commission in an insurance policy. What does it look like to be the type of advisor that somebody would write a check to because they see you in that light? And so, I charged $1,500 for a financial plan and I offered them like 12 months of my time, lost a bunch of money on it, but I was like, wow, somebody actually said yes to this. And then I went down the path of saying, okay, we're going to grow a 6, potentially 7-figure financial planning practice under our current umbrella. Because it'd be really cool as an advisor to get paid for all the time I'm giving away for free right now. So I was trained that you just meet with people, buy them steak dinners. If it takes 20 meetings to get their assets, you do whatever it takes. And I was like, man, this sucks. Like this, it kind of works, but I'm like, there's got to be a better way than me just kind of like giving myself away in hopes that people will do business with me. And so when I started getting paid for my time and ideas, it kind of unlocked a new confidence in me. To like, what if I have a client that loves real estate, owns a business, and in the past I would have been like, that's not a good client for me anymore. But what if their cash flow is so great they can pay me a lot of money, whether it's an annual fee or a once a month fee, to be on the team? And then when they sell their business or they need something, of course, who are they going to ask to help them with it? But I from the very beginning, I tell them there are two separate engagements here. You will pay me for my time and ideas. And here's what that looks like. And at Legacy, our minimum fee is 15 grand, and we do 3-month engagements. I don't give you 12 months of my time anymore. Like I only need 3 months to build it for you. And then we'll have business owners that want to do an ongoing relationship where they have a quarterly strategy meeting with us and then they pay us a monthly retainer. So we have those two options. But what's really cool is we're really good at managing money, and we can also help you place the insurance with some partners we have too. So it's like the products don't go away, but it took me 4 or 5 years to redefine our reputation in town of being problem solvers. That if you have a question around your finances, you call Sten. And the good news is Sten's not going to sell you stuff. Where somebody grabs me on day one of this business and they're like, listen to me. You are going to be a business owner whether you like it or not. You will hire and lead people whether you like it or not, and figure out a way to get people to pay you for your time and ideas as quick as possible. Because the AUM will come, the insurance will come. But if I could have been generating great revenue for myself just based on my time and knowledge much sooner than I did, for your audience, for the new advisors I coach, even when I speak to like college CFP programs, I'm like, it might sound scary now, but work on yourself, develop a process, become a great communicator so that people will just pay you up front. So you don't have to give yourself away for free. And then you can learn the products later, as opposed to, hey, this business is you trying to sell products you don't understand yet. Go get them. To me, that's just a really bad value prop.
Really tough. And that's why in a lot of the distribution channel, you see all the scary stats that the industry researchers put out. 98% of people fail. Well, that's why. I mean, you just summed it up. Hey, you mentioned, thanks for walking us through that. You mentioned some advisors that you coach. So, because you've got I think you set up a separate business or something. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that was I got bored 5 years ago because I kind of felt like, I got some recognition as a young advisor, and it was almost like, I think I figured this business out. Like I can either keep doing this and just making more money for myself, which, to me, I believe at some point you have enough. Like if I'm just driven by more money for myself, there's probably something there to address. And so I started the Elite Advisor Network, which was like, okay, I didn't have a path. I didn't have very good coaching. When I got into business, they would take advisors that were like 25 years ahead of me and say, hey, you could be like Jim someday. And I'd be like, that seems so far away. Like I need somebody 5 years ahead of me, 10 years ahead of me that like is inspiring me, that feels a little more attainable. And so we started our online community. We do live events where we're teaching advisors how to charge for financial planning. We now have big companies we do that nationally with because that wave is here. So if you're listening, like, and you are not charging financial planning consulting fees, that's the advisor of the future. The selling of investments and insurance, well, that's fine. If you want to be in this business for longer than 5 years, like you have to start shifting. I mean, these are the biggest firms out there are calling us and they're like, we have to train our workforce on how to get paid for it. And the good news is they're no longer saying, hey, charge $500 where it's like a loss leader. Because if I charge $500 for a financial plan that takes me 3 to 6 months, it's like, I still have to sell you something pretty quick in order to make money. But if I can create such a great dynamic plan that I can charge you $5,000 for it, $8,000 for it, even if you don't buy something for me, like that's still a profitable business. And that should be the goal for all of us, is to have that kind of practice.
Yeah, similar when we started the recruiting firm, we had all these asset management investment companies come and say, hey, we got to start doing this financial planning. Can you bring in some CFPs? I'm like, yeah, we can do that. And then they took off. Okay. So you've got, I'm just listening to this. That seems like quite a bit going on. You've got this advisor network where you're kind of coaching people. You've got your own RIA. How are you? And then a family in there somewhere. How are you managing all this?
Yeah, so I committed myself early on. I don't work weekends. I take my kids to school. I'm at home with them for dinner. And so for me, it was like, I'm going to put these tight boundaries, but I don't think that means I have to underachieve. It just means that with the block I'm giving myself every day, I have to be unusually effective. In our coaching terms, we use average versus elite. Like you can wake up every day and have an average day, which is like kind of intentional, but not really. You might skip your workout or cut it short. You kind of get some things done, but you're like, oh, I didn't really plan ahead. Or when you hit the office on Monday, you're like, no, I know exactly what I'm doing every day. I have blocks on my schedule. And so for me, early on, I had to figure out, what does it take for me to pass all these people around me? The people they're holding out is like, hey, you could be like Jim someday. I'm like, I'm going to beat Jim in a year, because I know what Jim's doing. He's playing golf and hanging out and not really working. I can outwork Jim. Jim's not real. I'm just using that name. So that's what I coach to, is like, you don't have to sacrifice everything, but you can behave differently and get an outcome that most people don't think is possible, because the industry is somewhat accepting the long, slow, gradual path. And, I said I couldn't afford to do that when I was young in the business.
Several other coaches over my career have told me a long time. He's like, if when you're about to go on vacation, like that whole week, like if you can just be that productive, like all the time, like it's amazing. It's so true. It's like, because, and I'm guilty of this too, just like other, I'll sit here and just fill the time. If I'm not organized, like you're talking about, I'll just fill the time with like busy office work and stuff that's not productive and valuable. And I look, and I'm like, what did I get done today? Not a whole lot. So in your terms, that would have been an average day, and it's like average creep, like scope creep, right? And that's when you start dropping off and seeing things just not happen on the productivity side.
Yeah. And then when I got more into the consulting side with business owners, I started seeing stuff in their business like, man, they're really distracted. They seem like they're spending their time on things that's not productive. And then all of a sudden I'm like, wait, I'm doing that stuff. Like by learning to coach and consult business owners, I'm looking in the mirror and saying, I think there's a lot I need to level up here. So I started going to conferences and getting a lot of feedback on like, okay, if you're a visionary entrepreneur? I heard a speaker say once that like the distraction of it is the issue. That at times starting something new is like the worst thing you can do, even if it sounds really cool. And I look back and I was like, wow, I started a bunch of random things. You could even say going from legacy to starting a coaching network, like, what are you doing? Like, I think if the only goal for me was to grow something and make a bunch of money for myself, that's true. I would only focus on legacy, but there was something inside of me that was like, no, I want to spend part of my time hanging out and challenging other advisors and sharing what I've learned. So for me, though, that's kind of like a purpose-driven business too. But that's why we built what we call our resist framework. So it's resistance is the thing that is waiting for you every day you wake up. Great book called The War of Art. And what's crazy is there's obvious resistance. I don't know if you've ever cold plunged or saunaed. It's like it's a physical representation of your body telling you to not do something that you know you should do. Waking up early to work out, eating healthy. Like resistance is the thing stopping you from doing all that stuff. But then I realized that resistance can also be that you've kind of won. Like in our business, people get to where they're making 200-300 grand a year, and the resistance becomes comfort, or the trip you just won, and it causes you to kind of take your eye off the ball. And so we built a course around resistance, and we said, here are the 6 categories of resistance that every advisor will run into. And in a perfect world, as opposed to working on all of them at one time, you pick one and you say, I'm going to move this so far in my business. So is that revenue? Is it leadership skills for you if you're trying to grow your firm? Within these 6 categories, instead of all of us trying to hold 6 balls in the air at all times, which is what I used to do, and not have a lot of progress in each. Now I'm going to focus on one for 3 to 6 months and make big gains in it before I move on to the next one. So that's kind of the core of our teaching now, is how do we keep you laser focused with your time so that you can see better results faster?
I mean, again, that's how we got connected, because I had a guest on that is in your coaching program. But maybe just for my knowledge, but also the listeners. I mean, just like if someone wants to be a part of that, is it one-on-one? Is it grouping, or what does the engagement look like?
Yeah, so they can go to gobeelite.com and kind of see the info we have. Our basic community, $250 a month. You just get access to all of our content and you get to jump on a call with me once a month as a group. That's all of our recordings. I do a bunch of whiteboarding videos in there because I'm big on communication skills. So we teach that. Our higher level group, you also get our software, which is my financial planning software we built. And then you get to be on 2 1-hour calls with me live, and you can submit questions ahead of time for me to work out with you. And that's $550.
Okay.
So our goal is we're not trying to be an expensive mastermind, but I'm trying to say, hey, if you want to hang out with us and think the way we think and really push, the term we use is reject average. If you want to get so sensitive and you want to reject it to where it even makes you sick in your stomach when you see somebody doing something that's just weak and will not get great results, then yeah, come hang out with us.
Did you just say you created a financial planning software?
Yeah, man. So that was
Okay. Tell us about that. That seems
it's only
really
for our
interesting.
community right now, but it was my first
Okay.
segue down. And I think this is maybe how a lot of things are invented or built is I started doing financial planning when most of the industry wasn't. I had to leave a firm I was with because they wouldn't let me charge the fee I wanted to. I had this business owner that was worth like 20 million bucks. And there was a lot of stuff to do. And I think the fee was like 12,500 bucks. And this was a big, big firm, national firm. Compliance and the managing director was getting upset because they're like, we don't understand why they would want to pay you that. I'm like, okay, I'll never forget this meeting sitting across the table for this managing director, me saying, this person makes way more money than you, and they are wanting to pay me this. Why are you telling them not to pay me? Like, who are you to tell them not to pay me? If they want what I have and I'm willing to give it to them, like, why are you nervous? And in this meeting, he said, well, I would never pay you that much for your advice. And I said, that's great because I would never have you as a client. It was just, the
Yeah.
idea was even the leadership in the firm
Just
at
didn't get
the
it.
level couldn't see it. Like they're like, but where are you going to sell the insurance? I'm like, no, you don't need, it was like talking, it was crazy, but I have enough compassion for that because 6, 7 years ago, I didn't see it either. I was at a conference in Washington, D.C., and this advisor said on stage, it wasn't even the point of his talk, but he was telling us about his firm. And he said, to work with our firm, you have to pay us $5,000 onboarding fee or financial planning fee before you can even work with us. I was angry when he said that because I was like, no, you can't do that. Like, why are you worth that? Essentially, he called into question everything I'd ever been taught in the business up to that point. But that little spark is what said, well, what if I could be worth that too? Like, what if someday somebody would pay me just to work with me as opposed to me having to just sling product all the time? And so I hold some grace for anybody that gets really worked up when I present a different way of doing this business because I used to. But in the process of building financial plans, what I realize is most advisors either give somebody like a one piece of paper, which is worth nothing, like, what is this? Or they hit print on eMoney or Money Guide Pro and give somebody 80 pages of paper. And it's like, well, what is this? And so we built what we call Plan Score, which is our way of presenting a financial plan to people. You still need eMoney, you still need Holistiplan. Like, we're not trying to be on that space, but we do believe there's a better way to put it in front of a client that actually makes sense. It's worth $5,000, that's worth $10,000. And that's the software we built, which we're always iterating. The software game is wild. It's like you think you figured it out, and then somebody's like, well, can it do this? And you're like, oh, crap, that's a good idea.
So you really have 3 businesses: RIA, coaching, and a technology company is what it sounds like.
We fold the tech under EAN because we just give it to our members. But
Okay.
and then for me, great book, Who Not How. I don't know if you've read
Oh
that.
yeah.
So good. I was reading that by a pool on vacation once, and I was like, wait, this is it. Like I keep saying yes to things, but I'm trying to do too much things on my own. And therefore they're all going to just kind of fall short probably.
That's right.
So the agreement I made with myself is I can't add anything new to my life unless I have somebody else running it. And I have cool ideas. I got some stuff right now. I'm like, man, I want to do that. But I'm like, okay, I'm going to put a job post out. Can I find somebody really talented to come that wakes up thinking about this thing? Because if they don't, I don't have the time as a dad of 3 and a husband. Like, and so my world is pretty tight unless I find talent to come in and run my stuff.
It's a great book, Dr. Benjamin Hardy. Well, I mean, look, this is a packed. We really appreciate you sharing all this stuff. I mean, and you've given us a lot, but any final thoughts before we wind down here and close out?
Yeah, I think for everyone listening, there's a level, the most successful people I know are the most aware people. You know, I look back to when, probably wasn't until I hit 30 when life kind of forced me to wake up and look at myself. Like, why do I do the things I do? Am I resistant to change? Am I aware of like what I want to be and how to get there the fastest? So that means I had to start asking people for feedback, which I didn't usually do. So I would coach everybody in business in general or trying to be an advisor. Are you the most curious person you know? Are you asking for feedback? If you are funding your Roth IRA or 401k right now and you are not running $1 million business, stop doing that and start investing in your own development. Like that is the best investment. When I meet advisors that are like, making 150 grand a year, but they're maxing out their 401k, I'm like, what are you doing? Like there's time for that. But if we're talking about 8 or 12% a year, if you put $1 in yourself and you can get a 10x out of it, I would go to every conference, every event, like just become a student of the game because that'll give you the best return.
10x is easier than 2x. Another
There's
Ben Hardy, right? Yeah, I like it. Sten, this has been a lot of fun. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thanks, brother. It was great.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the New Planner Podcast. If you're ready to discover the top career paths for financial planners and see which track is best for you, we created a free guide to help you. Grab your copy of the Financial Planner Career Roadmap at newplannerrecruiting.com/roadmap. There, you'll also find more tools and resources all created to help you build a successful financial planning career. Tune back in next week for another episode, and until then, we're here to help you succeed.